My name is Peter Coffey. I'm the head of platform research at Salesforce.com, and I would like to thank the sponsors of this event, Davis Wright Tremaine, of course, the Washington Technology Industry Alliance, Silicon Valley Bank, Grant Thornton, and the Quorum Group, for getting us all together, well, almost all of us, to talk about some subjects that I think are really quite transforming our expectations for what we'll do in using information and how we will come to market with offerings wrapped around adding value to the business with information systems. The phrase cloud computing has been reviled by many who accuse the industry of having invented this vague label, what some have called, and of course a terrible pun, a vaporous label. I can actually show you numbers from the Google Trends service that will demonstrate that the label of cloud computing was really adopted by the market at least a year before it began to be used by mainstream services providers. And I think it speaks to the fact that people out there in the community, the consumers of information services, wanted things that met business need without burdening them with baggage of infrastructure and unproductive complexity. Meanwhile, of course, IBM was calling it utility computing, and we at Salesforce.com were calling it OnDemand Computing. As someone once said, if the IT industry were to open a sushi restaurant, we would probably call it place to buy and eat raw fish. Descriptive, but not exactly compelling. The label of cloud computing, however, does have some value because there are some pretty specific statements I can make about what is and is not a cloud. If you have to purchase hardware, if you have to acquire and install and maintain and update software, then you are engaging in infrastructure operations that do not create competitive value for your organization, that do not further its mission, and yet can be an enormous fraction of what you spend on your information handling. I think people have been surprised to discover that the economies of the cloud model are not incremental. One CIO at Bechtel Corporation actually did an internal benchmarking study of the company's own costs of things like storage and network operation and server administration and application portfolio management, and found that the best estimate that they could devise of the costs of these things being done by cloud providers such as YouTube, Amazon Web Services, Google, and Salesforce.com were 40-to-1 ratios. That is to say, you could cut 97.5% off the cost of these core IT activities by having someone do them for you in a highly automated, highly scalable manner. Now that I've said that, it may startle you to hear me go on to say, but so what? Who cares about a 98% cost reduction? Because let's face it, if I walk into your office and say, I can cut your IT spending not by 98%, but by 100%. Well, that's the end of the conversation, in the sense that once we've given you back that much value, we're done. There's an intrinsic boundary on how much value I can give you. But if we shift the conversation away from reducing the downside by cutting costs, and instead by elevating the upside with value creation, well, now that's a much more interesting conversation because there's no upper bound on how much value I can create. And I would like to give you a real-world example of this.